Hello everybody and welcome back to Typical City. What a tectonic game of football this promises to be. Real Madrid, 14-time winners of the Champions League, locking horns with Manchester City, the current holders of the Champions League. Champions of Europe? You'll never sing that, they said. Ho ho! And now we do sing it. How wrong were they? But before I go any further into this preview, I did want to bring something to your attention, that this video is brought to you by me. Like it always is, because that's something I promised a lot of my subscribers in one particular watch long. I went into the detail of it at least anyway, that I am, a new content creator. This is my first season, full time at least, being a Manchester City content creator. So I didn't want to disrupt the viewer's experience with sponsorships, constantly trying to sell you stuff. But I very kindly have received some offers, Manscaped, Fanatics, a few others, betting companies, football prizes, SofaScore. There's a few out there that have reached out, and I really appreciate that. There may come a day where I work with, or at least partner with, some of those guys, and I really do appreciate it, but it's not something I wanted to do in my first season, because I don't want to do a sell job on you. But there is something I do want to sell you. Your life. Potentially. Your life. Save your balls. This is Testicular Cancer Awareness Month, and the Testicular Cancer Society has very kindly reached out to me and asked if they could partner up with me to share the message, spread the awareness of testicular cancer and how dangerous it is. Because I imagine the demographic, that probably is the demographic that watch most YouTube videos are aged between 15 to 35, and that is the biggest age category that kills men. The biggest, most frequent cancer that appears in men aged between 15 and 35 is testicular cancer. And all it takes is a quick check. Go and check your balls like a Ballon d'Or goalkeeper, roll them about, have a check. There is full details in the QR code or the link in the description below to do it, to figure out how to do it. If you don't know how to do it, that's what this information is for. It's quick, it's easy, it's painless, and it's exactly what you need to do to potentially save your life. It'll save you 2 minutes of your time. That's all you need to do. Go and make it balls 2, cancer nil. Come on. Go and check it out in the description, like I said, or scan the QR code to find out more. A massive, and please spread the word for anyone who doesn't know this, not just by sharing this video, spread the word to anyone who doesn't know. Educate people in how to save yourself. Now, preview Manchester City going to the Bernabau. What a ridiculous game of football this proposes to be. Now, I wanted to talk about the fine details of this game, because it's two teams of pretty much equal quality, in truth. And when teams of that level of quality go blow for blow and start to lock horns, those fine details dictate the winner and the loser in these situations. And there are so many little details to go into for this preview and for this game on the whole that it's just unbelievable. You look at the fact that Ancelotti and Pep Guardiola, between the two of them, they have the most Champions League wins out of any manager ever, which is a fantastic achievement for them both. And they're locking horns. The one small fine detail is Madrid. Real Madrid had 9 days to prepare for this game. 9 days. Whereas Manchester City have had 2. So is that advantage Real Madrid, or is it a case of momentum is with Manchester City? Because you could put a spin on it. 2 ways you could look at that. You could look at it as like, oh, they've not played football for 9 days, Real Madrid. They're going to be fresh. They're going to be fit, raring to go, Or they could be a little bit rusty. Have they got the momentum? Having not played football in quite some time, have they got that match fitness, that raring to go we played recently? Have they got that winning feeling that was only a couple days old? Because Manchester City have. Or are Manchester City tired, fatigued, feeling a little bit weathered? There's 2 spins that you can put on it. For me, I think it's advantage Real Madrid to have 9 days to prepare for a Champions League game, because Real Madrid, they can just, like a light switch, they can turn it on in an instant, and it's worrying. A lot of Manchester City fans, of course, have had all hopes have been hung on the idea that Phil Foden is the main man this year. He very much has been. But the fact that Kevin De Bruyne cropped up with a performance to die for in that Crystal Palace away game at Selhurst Park, 2 goals and an assist, and a performance that was around those 2 goals and the assist that was absolutely sensational. If he can take that form to the Bernabeu, then Real Madrid are in trouble, mate, because that is a huge, huge factor that Manchester City just saw the best of Kevin De Bruyne, and if he can take that to the Bernabeu, we're in business. We're in business. Another little detail is Rudiger. Will he play? Because we saw what Rudiger did at the Bernabeu against Haaland. He bullied him, he pocketed him. Haaland was just looked like I mean, let's put it politely, was cut of a very frustrated figure. You know, he looked a bit pissed off, to put it a little bit more bluntly. But for some unknown reason to me, Carlo Ancelotti decided to bench Rudiger in the game at the Etihad. I don't know why he did that. And I have a feeling he won't make that mistake twice. Because Rudiger knew how to get into the pocket, or no, rather put Erling Haaland in his pocket. That's the right way to phrase it. Because it was a battle that was absolutely Rudiger won, but Haaland bossed that Real Madrid defence when Rudiger wasn't in it at the Etihad. So it'll be really interesting to see if he goes down that same route again, Carlo Ancelotti. Another battle that's really interesting is the Kyle Walker versus Vinicius Jr. We won't get to see that battle. And that's a battle that Kyle Walker very much got the better of last season, which is a very much, again, advantage Real Madrid. And it's, I'm really upset that there's no Kyle Walker. I'm really gutted about that. That's going to be a huge blow. And how Manchester City, because our defenders right now, they're dropping like flies, mate. Dropping like flies, and it's a concern. It really is. And we're going up against that unbelievable trio of Vinicius Jr., Rodrigo, and Jude Bellingham that are just absolutely devastating. 53 goals and 26 assists between them. 79 goal contributions between the three players. Nearly 80 goal contributions between three of their players. Wow, that's unbelievable. And we've got our work cut out for us if we have any hope of trying to stop that Real Madrid front three. It's going to be an absolute, what a game it's going to be. As you can see, the players I've just named as well, Real Madrid, though, they do depend on youth. How's youth going to fare in experience? You know, the experience side of the game. Are they going to have, because that's one downside to having a team full of kids. Well, they're not kids, are they? But they're more geared towards the youth side than, you know, your Modric's who doesn't get much of game time anymore. Benzema who's gone. You know, those experienced heads at Real Madrid. Toni Kroos, of course, can play in that middle of the midfield. He's probably their most experienced player. But around them, there's a lot of youth. So you're wondering if that inexperience in the latter stages, but it's Real Madrid. You don't really get to play for Real Madrid without having some level of experience. So I wouldn't read too much into their age. It could become a factor. Another factor that could take place is Manchester City's form against top teams like Arsenal and Liverpool. We haven't beaten them at all this season, if you want to call Aston Villa a top side, because they are in the top four. We've beaten them at home, but it was a makeshift Aston Villa team. But another side to it is you don't need to beat Real Madrid to go through. We could draw both games and win on penalties. So a win isn't essential. Getting through is what's essential. So, you know, we might need to see a little bit more of a dogged side of Manchester City. Something that we saw at the end of last season was how defensively resilient we were. Can we do something like that? I'm not sure we will. I've got a funny feeling this is going to be a really, really high-scoring game. Real Madrid currently sat comfortably top of La Liga as we speak right now, 8 points clear of Barcelona. They could effectively rest some players for the second leg. The gaps, they've got a nice cushion there. They could rest a couple of players. Excuse me, which would be another advantage to Real Madrid going in between the two legs. Of course, there's some yellow cards I need to talk to you about as well, because this is advantage Manchester City if we play our cards right. Hey, see what I did there? Cards, yellow cards, all coming together nicely. Second leg, potential suspensions. There is one for City, of course, which would be a huge blow considering, we've got no other defenders. You know, we're struggling for defenders as it is. Ruben Diaz is one yellow card away from a suspension. If we were to lose Ruben Diaz for the second leg, with the likes of Kyle Walker and Nathan Ake both being out, we're in big trouble. But Real Madrid, these players that I'm about to list are all one yellow card away from a suspension from the second leg. And I'll start with the best of them. Jude Bellingham is one yellow card away from a suspension. Camavinga, Tchouaméni, and Vinicius Jr. to end on a high note. If any of those players pick up a yellow card, they are out of the second leg at the Etihad. That is monumental. And I mean, if I'm Pep, I'm like, go and play the dark arts, mate. Get out there, mess them about, poke them, pull their hair, scratch them a little, stick a finger up their arse, mate. See what happens. See if he turns around and whacks you one, because you probably would. I would punch someone if someone did that to me. It's understandable. But you'll be getting a yellow card as a result. You know, I'm sure the person, let's not get too far about VAR getting involved in what happened in that situation. You know the point I'm trying to make is play the dark arts, wind them up, and Bellingham puts himself about as well. He recently got a red card. Was it Celta Vigo a couple of weeks ago? He got himself a red card in that game. So, you never know. We could see a big player of Real Madrid missing in the second leg, which would be absolutely huge. In terms of form, City are undefeated in 25 games, which is incredible, winning 11 out of the 12 games that were away from home. Madrid, though, undefeated in 13. Both sides won every single game in the group stages. City with 3-1 comprehensive wins against Copenhagen in the previous knockout round. Real Madrid weren't convincing, as far as I'm concerned, at least against RB Leipzig, with a 1-1 draw at the Bernabau, which followed on from their 1-0 win away to RB Leipzig. So it wasn't a convincing win at all. Manchester City are currently on their longest winning streak in Champions League history. The second longest, in the competition's history, is held by Manchester City with 10 wins in a row. And we're undefeated in 21 matches in the Champions League. Undefeated in 21 matches. And guess who was the last team to beat us? Real Madrid in 2022. Now, team news. Kyle Walker, Nathan Ake, they have officially not travelled. There was a rumour going around that Josko Gvardiol won't be travelling. That's not true. He's on the team sheet, official from Manchester City, which is why you don't trust Twitter until it's official. Because the know-how people, the people in the know, weren't in the know. Madrid team news is massive. One player in particular is Thibaut Courtois, their number one goalkeeper, the keeper that kept that scoreline at 4-0 at the Etihad last season. Could have been 8 at the Etihad. We destroyed them. And before we scored, it could have been 3-0. Easily, with some unbelievable saves from Thibaut Courtois. Now, Andre Lunin's going to have to step in and see if he can fill those massive boots of Courtois. The other player for Real Madrid out is David Alaba. Now, predicted starting 11s for both sides. They aren't too difficult to predict, to be honest. A couple of players here and there that might make it a little bit tricky. But starting with Real Madrid, Andre Lunin in goal with Carvajal at right back. Nacho Cheese in centre-back. And I'm going to go with Rudiger in the middle. And Mendy at left back. They do play like a weird 4-3-1-2 Real Madrid, with Bellingham being the middle centre forward almost, but like a false 9. So it is an interesting formation that they play. I imagine they'll probably go down that route again. And in front of them, I'm going to go with Toni Kroos and Camavinga, who is a brilliant player. I'm a big fan of Camavinga. I think he's such a tenacious player. Could be a little bit better on the ball, but his work rate and his vision and his defensive awareness is fantastic. So good. Alongside Toni Kroos, Valverde. A little bit deep, but still in front of them is Jude Bellingham, sat there with Vinicius Jr. and Rodrigo either side of him, which is an absolutely terrifying football team, to be honest. An incredibly good football team that is going to be really difficult for Manchester City to beat, but we can do it. I fully believe we can. Now, Manchester City, Ortega or Edison? That's a big debate. A big debate now because Ortega's been brilliant. He really has. He's been brilliant, and there's absolutely no reason to drop him. You know, he's even stepped up in his footwork with that unbelievable Cruyff turn that he did after Rodri's hospital back pass against Crystal Palace. Ortega saved him, mate. So I'm going to stick with Ortega and popping him in the Manchester City goal. The defence is kind of forced upon. It's the defence that we saw in the second half, potentially, with Josko Gvardiol's injury uncertain. It depends. He's travelled. I haven't heard whether he's fit or not. If he was fit, I'm going Josko Gvardiol. So let's assume he is, actually. Let's assume he's fit, because it looks better on paper. And it could give us some decent options as well if he is fit, with defenders pushing in and out of that defensive midfield role. Ruben Diaz, and I'm going to go with, if, this is a big caveat, if Gvardiol's fit, I'm going Manuel Akanji there. And in front of them, I'm going to go John Stones and Rodri, of course. Which, I mean, that changes everything. That changes everything in midfield. In terms of solidity, and I mean, it's a bit harsh on Rico Lewis, scored a goal against Crystal Palace. Played fantastically well in the last 3 games, coming on as a sub against Arsenal, played against Villa, played against Palace. Didn't put a foot wrong. He was brilliant in midfield. Really, really good. Now, the problem at the back, if Gvardiol isn't fit, it starts to look like this, because Akanji had to play left back, which will start to look like that. That then forces John Stones to go right back, and all of a sudden you've got Rico Lewis starting at the Bernabau in the Champions League quarterfinals. And I mean, the kid's unbelievable and a promising prospect, but is he ready for that? That's a big ask. That's a big ask for such a young head. You know, I believe he could do it. I really believe he could do it, but I'm hoping for the sake of just solidity, you know, nothing silly could happen. You know, I come away with a draw at the Bernabeu and I'm laughing. I'm absolutely buzzing with any sort of draw. Just don't lose the game and we're in business in potentially knocking Real Madrid out. But Rico Lewis weakens us defensively if he's in the middle alongside Rodri. So I'm going to go back to what I reverted to before in the hope that that's the case with Akanji on the right and John Stones playing in midfield and Gvardiol at the left side of the centre-backs. In front of them, Kevin De Bruyne. Now, it could be Phil Foden, or it could be Bernardo Silva, but I think he's going to... Because he didn't play Bernardo Silva against Palace, or he came on for the final minute, I'm going to go with him on the right, but you could see something like that instead. It could easily be that. And I mean, I'm not complaining at that. It could quite comfortably be that. But a lot of people worry about the combination of Foden and De Bruyne in the middle. I'm not sure why. I think it could work. I have every belief that it could work. Not two quite explosive players. There's not too much control in that midfield. Bernardo Silva being in that midfield would definitely add a level of control that we might need in this game. But you've got John Stones and Rodri behind them in this particular formation. There's your control, and I feel like that would help give the license to Foden and De Bruyne to really express themselves in the middle of the park. So I'm going to go with Foden and De Bruyne in the middle. On the left, it has to be on form. Jack Grealish, who's been brilliant in his last 2 games. And I'm going to go with Erling Haaland up top. And I mean, those two teams on paper look absolutely sensational. What a game of football this is going to be. Don't forget to go and check out the testicular cancer awareness campaign that I'm behind. It's really, really important. The QR code, again, is on the screen. The link is in the description below. Prediction-wise, for this game, I'm going to go 2-2, which is a great result for Manchester City. Take back the level playing field to the Etihad, and it is game on. We can absolutely do it. What are your predictions? Get in the comment sections below. I want to hear your thoughts. Like and subscribe to Typical City, and I'll see you in the next one.
This is Typical City now, holding up silver.